What's up, y'all? I'm here to talk about Dexter Resurrection. The episode number 7, man. It was one heck of an episode. We gonna see what's going on. So you gonna see the recap here, and then Dexter he meets up at the right here at the this is after the plane ride. They meet with Prater, and Prater is agitated. He was telling Charlie to do what I tell you, and he seems upset here, and I think it has to do with the fact that things are just becoming awry. Um, the tattoo killer's dead. Mia is in prison. He doesn't know about the Gemini's twin being dead, so Dexter still had some leeway here. If the Gemini also didn't show up, I firmly believe it would have been some mess. I firmly believe. So we're getting like a little thing here. And then put on my glass. I can see my eye. Ooh, I don't like that. Oof. Boom. All right, all right. So this is where Harrison is basically talking to his girl about his future, right? And yeah, he's figuring that out about his future if he wants to go to college or um, yeah, now he wants to take classes in criminal justice, which is kind of following the footsteps of Harry and Deb more likely because Dexter's a forensic analyst, so he more went like the analytical route. Um, but Dexter's also adopted, so yeah, I kind of understand that to a sense. Which is why I kind of find it funny that Harrison wanted to be a cop too, because he's following Harry and Deb's footsteps, but he's not exactly part of that family lineage. So I thought that was also interesting. Now Prater here is asking Dexter to present, and I found his presentation very interesting because I mean, he gets his food, whatever. And oh, dude, this right here. Sorry, before we even go into that, let's talk about Al. This guy was hunting this girl down, right? We never even see her face. I don't even know who she is. But he's basically like he seems to be on a hiking trail. And this is why you need to be more you got to be careful when you're alone. I guess that's like the best way to put these things, and especially women, because this mess is crazy. This dude was riding his bike, and I've been in these situations, all the time where someone's passing me on the bike ride. They're I'm on your left, and then you just move out the way real quick. But the way this guy does it is like he makes himself known, but only to use it as like I guess I guess to make him seem like a good guy, like in a quick interaction, like hey, I'm on your right, and I think it works here because later when he fakes his injury, she wants to help him because she thinks that he's a good person. Oh man, that this whole thing is disgusting to me. Oh my gosh, look, 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 look. She's helping him right here, and oh my god, and then he's basically yeah, then she's dead here, and he's cutting off her ponytail. I guess we do end up seeing her face. I don't know who she is, but it's this was pretty horrible. Because she's an innocent, she's minding her own business, and I guess like the Gemini killer said, they pay or he pays extra for the before photos or to see how it's done or whatever. He pays extra for those things. And I think to a certain extent, making a video for Prater, and these killers get to relive it, you know. And I think that's a reliving the experience is probably like a thing to them. Sorry, I mean to Butterfinger. Gotta get some chocolate, you know. Well, mm. Now we're talking about Dexter presenting, and he's going through all these personalities. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if he should be hard or being weird. There's this personality where he's like, oh, it's just weird for me to know. I think that's the funniest one for me to see. And he's just going through these personalities, trying to figure out, I guess, what the other people would accept. And this was funny, but he decides ultimately to be himself, which I think is the best policy because it's the only one for me that's probably the most genuine, the most believable. I think most of the times people can see through like fake stuff. So if you're believable and you're genuine, I think you can go a long way. Harry, he's arguing with Harry here about the fact that he never really felt accepted, even from his own father, because his father, he taught him how to survive, right? But then he ultimately committed suicide because of what he saw, what he had created. So Dexter's still here. He sees himself as a monster, even though Harry is basically saying, "No, you do. You're better than these guys. You're not like them." And Dexter's like, "Well, you still look at me like I'm a monster, even though if I'm not like them, okay, I'm a better looking monster, but I'm still a monster to you. You killed yourself because you saw a monster." So, interesting take. He was pretty interesting moment here. Yeah, this is what he's talking about right here. Where he's like, "Yeah, I'm a monster to you." Okay, so now he's presenting, and he's basically talking about the mask that he wears. And he says the mask isn't the darkness. It's actually red. It's Schmidt, and I think it's actually it's cool to hear that because he's playing red to begin with. So red is the mask because no one even knows he's Dexter. But also from like the standpoint of even if they knew that he was Dexter, to approach the situation like I have to wear a mask and only my victims really get to see the real me, and I'm only allowed to be myself for like a 30-second window or a minute window whenever the victim opens their eyes, and I get to basically just allow the walls of my personality to disappear. I get to take the mask off. I think that the mask comes up a lot in this show, and I think and I think it tickles Prater because it is so relatable. But it can be relatable to anybody. Like Harrison, he wanted to help that girl because he had seen that she was being taken advantage of. She was drugged, and he wanted to help. And it's like the angel and the demon in the cartoons, right? They're like both on the shoulder, and they're both like they have voices, right? And I feel like here it even works for Harrison because the angel in him is like, hey man, go help that girl, go help that girl. So then he takes it upon himself to analyze the details of the situation, realize that something's off, and then he goes up to the hotel and he tries to save her. But then the dude, who obviously is trying to commit like a vile act or disgusting act, he lets the filth come out of his mouth, and the filth is what tickle. So this is where the angel is, huh? So, or did I say? I don't know. The filth tickles the devil, and that's when the devil comes louder and louder, and then takes over, and it's just like take him out. And I think there's a lot of that in this show, even with Batista. He used to think the world of Dexter, and now he's hunting Dexter. You know, and he has these notions that he killed Dokes, and he killed LaGuerta, and he killed Deb, and the truth is he killed none of those people. So there's a lot of like misconceptions, and how being hurt, I guess, causes you to maybe hurt someone else. And Prater comes to this later when he talks about his childhood, and he's talking about the fact that he visited the people that killed his parents. And the guy who killed his parents was basically saying, well, he got into a fight with his girlfriend, he was hurt. So to get the pain to come out, he felt like he had to hurt someone else. And I wonder how much of that really is in the world, where the pain of someone else is just trying to get released, and it hurts another person, and then it's just like a chain reaction. Like this show in a lot of ways is very relatable, even if it is talking about murder. It doesn't necessarily have to be tied to murder. It could be tied to somebody just doing something out of pocket just because they're hurt, and I think that in itself is relatable. You're talking about taking off the mask here. They're listening, and look at his face. He's here. He was talking about the fact that if his family really knew him, they would turn him in. They would turn him into the police, or they would hate him. And his world is that fragile. And I wonder how many people feel like their world is that fragile. Like if they didn't have a job, but their wife still loved them. If they weren't the person that the mask is trying to portray fully, what would happen? And this is what I see. I'm telling this show's so relatable in so many ways. Batista's just not convinced. Batista, man, this dude right here is he is determined. I think that's the best. He is a determined person. He doesn't believe that there's too many. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. At the same time, it is fishy, right? Like Mia dying in jail, but she doesn't know you're going to see her. She had already seen. According to the show, she already seen the FBI. She already seen multiple departments of law enforcement. So it wasn't like before she saw law enforcement at all. She had decided to kill herself. She decided to kill, or I guess she didn't really even decide to kill herself. She was killed by Charlie paying a cop. And he is just unconvinced. I think for him it just raised more questions. But again, I like what if I can get his face. I like what Big Dog says right here, because he makes a very valid question, where he's like, how in the world would Dexter break into a prison with enough time to kill Mia before we got there, escape the prison? Like there's so many questions within that, within the theory that you're trying to allude to, that your theory is like borderline impossible. And I find this to be a good point that he is going to have to deal with, because how did he do that if he did do that? How does that even make sense? So he's going to have a lot to question here. Now, later on, if I can get another her, she basically says that Mia's prints were not on the watch, but her prints were on everything else. And I think Dexter could have maybe been a little more slick with it, like when like he maybe could have wore the watch when he was around Mia, got her to touch it or something, and then wiped the prints off. But that could be like, crazy within itself. Maybe he did the best that he could, with the situation that he had. So, but that was the only thing that may have, you know, gotten a little wonky with the story, was that her prints were on every other trophy but the watch. So that's going to continue to go on, and uh, what's his name? La Passion's head, and he's just not gonna let it go. He's not gonna let it go. So later we get to hear, this is the sh- the eatery, the showdown, and the Gemini killer is questioning Dexter. In a sense, he's kind of putting him on the spot, but like in a reserved way, which is different than his twin, because his twin was so much more animated and talkative about what he believed. And very reserved. And he basically asked Dexter, he's like, so what is different this year? Why is the year that you show up, everything goes to crap? And he hasn't, but I think another thing about is that he hasn't been here long. And while maybe people think that that doesn't work in his favor, I think to a certain extent it does. Because Dexter hasn't even seen most of these people present. He's only through the phone spoken to Mia, and he's never really encountered the Gemini killer on the phone. He never spoke to him. And it just, I know, like, being a new person and all these bad things happening, like, to a certain extent it is bad, and it looks bad on him. But at the same time, it almost, to like, in a big way, like almost exonerates him, because if I was considering the truth here, right, from Prater, I would be like, well, this guy's only been here for 2 weeks. How would three of my people disappear, or something happen to three of my people in 2 weeks? This guy just showed up. It doesn't really make sense that this guy is this efficient, you know. So it's like, yes, but also no. And I think that's a big thing here, where it's like there is questions, but there's not enough time, I guess, that has elapsed at the same time to even come up with some of these answers. So, and I think that's why he's able to maybe hide in plain sight so easily as well. So, this is where Prater wants to talk to him. Charlie goes up and gives him the memo. And this is where Charlie talks about his relationship with the um, the serial killer that, you know, he encountered, the one that killed his parents. And he basically says that he was very, very close to him, and he whips out I guess he wrote a letter to this man, and he whips out he whips out a letter, and he basically says that he had messaged him, and he was trying to figure out why. And I thought that the word choice here was so weird, because one of the things that Dexter said was that it wasn't like, he's basically, Prater was talking about how he had written a letter to the killer of his parents, and how he was trying to figure out why he did it, like what was the purpose. And the guy was basically saying that it wasn't, his actions weren't necessarily good or they weren't bad, it was just what was. And he talks about being basically a victim of the world's morality. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, how pain tends to chain between people. And then somehow, some way, we all become a victim of the world's morality and how it can affect us in a negative aspect. Maybe your boss woke up on the wrong side of the bed that morning and cusses you out because of something else that happened between him and his kid, or him and his family, or what else. Like being the victim of the world's morality, you really have to or sometimes you feel like you walk on eggshells. And I think this is such a huge kind of moment because it it puts in perception, the amount, or the severity of how things can really become bad, or yeah, just become crazy, events in life, and they had nothing to do with you, but yet they happened to you. And that's Prater right here, where he's like, I was just, I was living my life. I was a kid. I was with my parents. I was in the car, and he killed both of my parents because he had a fight with his girlfriend. I went to go see him, and he had no remorse because he was also the guy who had killed his parents was also a victim of the world's morality, but just in a different way. He said we were both prisoners, and I found that to be so interesting. Now the word that Dexter used was oh, what was it? It was like it was alluring in a way, or it was an A word, and he was basically talking about how the fact that it wasn't good or bad, it was almost intriguing. But intriguing, yes, but he had used a different word, and I thought it was so strange to use that word. Um, but it's it is intriguing to understand why people do what they do. Um, but I wouldn't give it like a positive word to like he did. Where and maybe it was like he was trying to take himself like out of the situation, so in that way you didn't have to think about it like a personal thing, and maybe that's why it could be more, you know beneficial to like figure out why a person did it, or figure out a person's mindset, or to understand something. Yeah, I just drink a little bit. Dexter's just kind of, you know he's vetting him too, like Dexter's analog. He doesn't know how to feel because he doesn't know what somebody else knows, so he's very cautious. And because Dexter been doing a lot, he's been killing off Prater's whole team, so he's very cautious. This is the man that had killed Leon's parents, and he was talking about that here. I wonder if you ever see if I can get a photo. Yeah, this is the letter that he wrote that man, and the man wrote back, and this is his first trophy that he ever received, and this is why he has such a fascination with serial killers. Um, yeah, I think it has something to do with how pain changes you, and I think he feels a deep connection with these people because he was a victim of the world's morality. And I think he finds that serial killers do what they do because a trauma has cut them so deep that it changed who they are. Because I think what happened to him changed who he was. So I think he feels connected with these people in that sense. He almost wants to know their trauma. He wants to know those things because he feels like he can relate, you know? Um, Batista here just doesn't quit, man. This guy, I firmly believe that he's gonna die. He won't give up. And like dokes like Maria LaGuerta, um, those people wouldn't quit. And when they wouldn't quit, Dexter didn't kill them, but they ended up in situations where the situations they're just very, very dangerous. And when you end up in those situations, bad things happen. Now, I'm very confused how Blessing here, because he seems to be a person who's very good at analyzing people. And for me, um, he was very, like, his tone and the way that he says things has so much hatred in it. Like, I think there was a line he used where he said, yeah, Dexter always just seems to fit in. Like, but it wasn't like oh yeah, Dexter just seems to fit in everywhere you go. It was like Dexter just seemed like there was there was like a hatred in there, and I don't understand how Blessing doesn't pick this up, but I understand he's a nice guy, and he tends to just invite people into his home, which I feel like there should be more wisdom on his part with just accepting people into your house or whatever. But that's me. I guess if he found out he was a cop, then to some extent he has nothing to worry about. But I don't know. If I find out you're a cop and you kind of talk about your friend in a certain manner to where it's not good, I'm gonna feel fishy, and I'm just gonna be like, yeah, well, you have a great day. So I it kind of took me off that Blessing was so accepting in his like pulling up and asking questions. This scene, bro, was great. It was just, oh my god, it's wild. I did not think that Dexter was going to shift the scales like this. So, uh, oh my man. So this guy, dude, he's over here talking to Gemini, and he's trying to. It seems like he's trying to get him to talk, but this guy is completely opposite from his brother. He's not a talkative person. He's a very quiet person, and he's not. But you know what? What I see, flattery still works on him, especially if you kind of put him in a corner where he's like, "Dang, well he knows. This guy knows, so I can be honest with him." And he's giving me praise, so now I can trust him. And I feel like a lot of people do this even now, where they're like, "Oh my God, you're such an amazing person." Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah," and they ask you questions because they're trying to hype you up to pull something from you. There's so much about analyzing human like how humans move or how the brain tries to mislead uh, people to try to get what they want, and it's crazy. And he basically kind of pumps him up here to get him to confide in him that he's a twin, and later he tells him. So yeah, I think in my last video I was even talking about this where I was like, can't twins like feel each other's pain? Don't they have like a deeper connection? And Dexter leads into that here where he's like, did you feel when I stabbed your brother at 8 o'clock last night? Did you get a heat flash when I tossed him into the furnace? That is some crazy things to say to somebody, and of course, it would invoke like an angry reaction. Maybe because of how his brother like reacted to things, how he was kind of impulsive. He felt that he can move in a certain way, and he can believe that he would also be impulsive. But this is such a ballsy move to me. It's such a ballsy move from his part, and I'm surprised that like it worked so cleanly. Um, you can see him like now he's starting to confide in him, and Dexter's just pumping him up the whole time. And right here. Oh, see. Look, right here. He's telling him that he killed his brother. He threw him in the furnace and he just burned him alive. And then now he's stabbing him in the neck right here. Like this is a crazy still. And bye bye the Gemini killer, right? And but see, she is not convinced at all. She is not convinced. She even says, "Well, the Gemini killer killed in twos. He wasn't a spontaneous killer. He was a planned out, very methodical killer." So like what happened to where he did things outside of his playbook? But I mean, you can't undo the facts of what a person sees, and what everyone saw was that Gemini attacked him first. So again, Dexter gets away with that, but she is not convinced. I fully believe she is not convinced. um yeah, that sad Gemini killer. He got stabbed, I guess. Now he needs repair. Al's reaction threw me off here. I will say that for being a killer, being so queasy on blood kind of threw me off. He said he strangles his victims, right? So there's no blood. But even then, when the girl thought, he was hurt, and he was like, "Oh, I think it's bleeding, right?" And he's squeezy about blood, so he didn't even want to bleed on himself. So he was like, "I think I'm bleeding." He grabbed her head and slammed it on the ground. And then I know he strangled her after that, but to grab someone's head and slam it on the pavement, you would think a person wouldn't be queasy about blood, or they would be able to accept it to some nature. But he's so freaked out right here. It kind of makes me think that um I don't know, maybe he just does things a certain way. But I found it odd that he was just so queasy about blood, but yet you kill people. Like, something about that just doesn't really make sense to me. Here's She's preparing him up. And this is why another reason why I think she's not fully convinced, because while she's repairing him, she's not saying, "Oh, I'm sorry that guy attacked you. Oh my God, she's over here saying, "If he was an inch to the left, you would have bled out. I've made it happen. I'm surprised it didn't happen to you." Like, almost like she's threatening him while fixing him up. And I mean, Dexter's just, he's one of those people that's kind of honest. He's just like, "Oh, lucky me." But it just lets me believe that she is not fully convinced, like, by any means. She is not convinced. He's coming to Harrison's meet and greet. I thought this interaction was funny. When he's like, "Oh yeah, my mom died and I killed my dad." Oh, it's a joke. Like, he had matched her energy perfectly. I thought that was hilarious. So he's going to go see Harrison, and this right here, when he sees her, oh my God, dude, it was like you can see the fear like enter his body, and he's like, "Yo, I'm out of here. I am out of here." But the people who were coming in, they wouldn't let him leave. They're like, "Yo, you gonna sit down? Like, what are you doing?" So he ends up like entering the space. I feel like I still would have tried to leave early. Like, after I seen her, bro, party over. Even if I am trying to do good, party over. So anyway, she's talking about the New York Ripper, which she was alluding to when she was talking to her partner, right? Like, her partner was like, "You're kind of don't fixate on cases like you did the New York Ripper because it almost cost you your job." And she's basically trying to I guess fixate, but like in a positive way, maybe, where she's like getting more people that maybe will look out for certain details or be aware of certain things. So if they see something, they'll reach out, and they know who to reach out to. Maybe this is like kind of one of those things. Um, but anyway, Harrison is is right here, but Dexter's not here yet. So then, like, Dexter comes in, and I'm trying to catch it. Maybe I can. Anyway, he comes in and she stares him down, to the point where, they're sitting here, and he's like, "Isn't that the?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Did you know?" He's like, "Nah, I didn't know at all." Like, but you can tell they're both. Well, Dexter's calm as a cucumber, like always, but Harrison is shook up, like he's very uncomfortable. And then she's basically explaining like the mind of serial killers, how they don't have emotional attachments and they're incapable of love, which I do not believe. I think Dexter is fully capable of love, and I feel like if anything, that sets him apart from the other. Actually, I wouldn't even say the other killers, because Al has a family. The Trinity killer had a family. So I think from what I've seen in this show, I don't think serial killers are incapable of love. It seems like they're incapable of empathy with people that they don't have ties with. Like, if you're not their family, or you're not someone who's important to them, then they can't really show empathy, because there's nothing to connect them to you. But in many of the the killers, it seems like they're 100% able to show love. Even when it came to his therapist's son, you can tell he was probably the most unempathetic killer out of all of them, but he still loved his mother. And he still gave his mother a chance because he loved his mother. And his mother's love was important to him. So I don't think that killers are incapable of love. I think they're maybe incapable of empathy if they're not connected to you. Um, yeah, so I like even here later on after she's done showing all this crap, Dexter's basically telling him, he's like, "Hey man, like I might not feel empathy like in the traditional sense, or I might not feel love in the traditional sense, but understand like you are my son and I love you." He doesn't really say love. He's like, "I feel for you more than anyone else," but um maybe because he felt like unable to use the word love there, but I feel like he loved Rita. I feel like he loved Deb. I feel like he loved or he loves Harrison. I feel like he loved Hannah. Like for me, it doesn't really make sense. I think he's fully capable of love, is what I believe. That's when he's awkward. He's like hitting his thigh, like, "Yep, I love you." And then they go up and they're questioned by the cop again, and she's over here fishing again. But Dexter's just calm as a cucumber. I love this man's wittiness because even when he's in like a awkward or bad situation, he just has so much poise and just calmness about him. Where he's like, even when she's like, "You are Dexter, you are Harrison's father, are you?" He doesn't say yes or no. He's like, "Good detective work." Like, like what do you, like who else do you think's coming with him? I found that to be hilarious, but it's like at the same time, like he's almost trying to say, "What does it matter to you?" Like, good detective work. Like, look at you, you caught me. Dexter's freaking funny to me, man. He has such good dry humor. And so she's fishing for details, and I found it kind of funny how Dexter was basically telling Batista's story. It seems like he was just trying to discredit him a little bit, where he's talking about how his partner, which was his partner. I don't think his partner was Dokes. He just worked with Dokes. But here he says, "Oh, Dokes was his partner," and because Dokes was a lone wolf, so he's like, "Oh yeah, his partner Dokes." Uh, he turned out to be the Bay Harbor Butcher, and that really set him back. And then his ex Maria was killed in the line of duty, so he's just distraught. And he's working off emotional rage, basically. That's kind of the story that he gives her, and then he gives her like another like insight to maybe to the New York Ripper, where he says, "I don't think the blood here speaks the same story that you're maybe trying to tell." If I can get this still. Look, yeah, right here. He's talking about how he's like, I think he used a hook, and it was more of like a slashing motion. And look at I feel like he's just kind of proud at this moment because I think Harrison, he just feels so safe with his dad, even in moments like this where he's talking to a police officer. Like he just has such good wittiness. Like even when I think Harrison was talking about becoming a cop, and she was like, "Oh, so you're following in your father's footsteps." That line came from La Passion, but it could have alluded to so many things. And I think Dexter took that question on purpose, where he's like, "How do you mean?" And she's like, "Oh, but what about becoming a cop?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I mean, I guess so, yeah." But I think he more thought that the inspiration came from Deb or Harry. But you can tell that Harrison is really starting to love his father, and just he's one of those things where he really respects him, and he's trying to be like his father in a sense, but maybe not in that way, but in the strong sense of justice type of way. And you can see he's just proud of his dad, and I find that to be really cool. And this is this is where He's like, "Hey, Dad, go to the gift shop. You know, I'm over here doing my thing." I thought that was pretty funny. And I keep it real. I think she gives him more, I'm trying to date you vibes, or I think you're cute vibes than his other girlfriend ever really did. It seems like his other friend really just needs a babysitter and like something, or a friend that she can maybe rely on. And I don't think she really wants to be with Harrison like that. And I feel like it might come around later that Harrison, she put Harrison in the friend zone, and later on, she might need something, and Harrison just won't be available. And I feel like that might tickle her fancy a little bit. So I guess we'll see in the later episodes. Here, Dexter's pretty happy. He's talking about the $40 hat, and just being proud of his son, trying to do something greater with his life. And I feel like this is a moment that every dad wants to have with their son. So I find that to be pretty cool. Yeah, they're just happy, being around each other, finding a new dialogue and a new energy between them. So, oh, this is where I found this pretty cool because this right here, I actually read online that some people were like, well, he put the blood on the left side. It's for the twin, so he can like put it on the same slide. And I I didn't really notice it at first, but once he like put that, I was like, oh, he really did do that. Like maybe that was like a little foreshadowing a little bit, where he like put the blood too much to the left, and he's like, oh, I'm a pair with the with the other brother. I thought that was a cool little thing where he has the twins in one slide, kept them together, in death. Oh, this right here is Mr. Batista just doing too much. And this is another take where Batista's getting too close and he won't give it up. And how he's it's like he's talking to the people that Dexter's close to, and he's trying to get information about him and his life and whatnot. And whether Dexter is doing wrong or not, I think this would tickle anybody in the wrong way. Anybody, whether you're a friend or not, showing up to a person's, home without them being there, talking to their neighbor, and just being like, "Oh, I was talking to your neighbor about you, and I was salsa dancing, and it's and then he comes and he's just like, I was looking for you. I was trying to catch you. And, that has a double edged sword to it because he knows where he's coming from. And I think just coming around certain people, especially when it's close to their private place, if you're not like this to somebody, you're not their best friend. If you've become an associate, or if you become like a person who can't really be trusted in the full extent of being beneficial to their life, and you show up talking to people that are right next to him, his family or his landlord, or things that could actually potentially ruin the situation that he has, everybody in Dexter's situation would have a problem with this. And again, I feel like Angel is he's doing too much, where he's like, oh, I taught this guy how to salsa dance 30 years ago, and like he's telling him that Dexter was a cop. He's talking about his old life and whatever. And Dexter deliberately hasn't told these people about himself because he doesn't want to. The lady had already did a background check on him. He's more of a person that enjoys being private. He's trying to create a new life for himself. He doesn't want his old stories following him. And I feel like Angel he's just doing too much. Like, it's just straight up, he's just doing too much. He's making it to seem like Dexter can't be safe in his own in the safe place that he's created for himself again. And the first rule of Dexter is don't get caught. So I feel like that is going to lead Angel to like a dangerous path. And later on, he tells Angel this, where they're taking the ride together, And yeah, he's looking at him like, if I am who you think I am, why do you think this is going to go well for you? And I think this is a very good question without alluding too much about who he is. Because, like, and again, not to say that he killed these people, because he didn't. He didn't kill Dokes, and he didn't kill Maria, and he didn't kill Deb. But those people, because they intertwined with his life, and they wanted to know more about Dexter so much, they put themselves in harm's way, and they ended up paying the price for it. And I feel like Angel's going to end up doing that as well. Personally, I do not think that Dexter is going to kill him. I feel like Charlie will, or Prater will. It's going to be someone who isn't Dexter, but has the interests of Dexter, who loves Dexter and protects the interests of Dexter so far that they would be inclined to dispatch of Angel. And to a certain extent, I think it might include Harrison, but I don't think I'm hoping that Harrison is like kind of firmly on this different path. I think it would kind of be like a relapse for him in like a way, when you try to stop doing something and you're trying to move on from something, and then something else kind of brings you back. And so I'm hoping it's not Harrison, but I feel like if it was anybody that kills Angel, it's probably going to be Charlie, because again, I don't think Charlie believes him either, believes his story. So I feel like Charlie, in some sense, might be investigating him too. And I feel like Charlie and Angel are probably going to come to a standstill by investigating him. And Charlie, being an assassin, and Angel being a cop, that she can't control. I think that there might be some fallout right there. Now Angel leaves, and he kicks him out on the freeway, which I think is totally acceptable. Like, you're threatening my family, you're threatening what I've built. You followed me to another state. I'm trying to leave and like be done with you. Like, I left Miami. And what's crazy is Dexter hasn't been around for like 20 years, right? Because wasn't he had left Miami, and he was under Iron Lake for like 10 years. And then he was in a coma, and then comes out here. So he hasn't seen Angel in a long time. 10, 15 years this man's been allowing this idea to turn in his head. And now he's messing with this guy's with Dexter's life. So I fully understood. He's like, man, get out of my car, bro. Get out, because you're messing with me, and you're supposed to be my friend. I thought we were talking about, you taught me how to salsa dance. I think I was at your wedding. You were at my wedding. Like, we're supposed to be friends, and now you're investigating me. Even when Dexter was in a coma, when he faked his shower, he already knew Angel wasn't to be trusted. And I think Angel knows that Dexter doesn't trust him. So I don't know. I feel like Angel about to get clapped. Like, he like, I truly believe he's going to die. He's becoming too close, and not close in like, I know what's going on and whatever like that. Like, he's becoming too close where it feels like he's almost being harassed, because from what I know, Angel's not even a cop anymore. Right? He's not a cop anymore. So if a person's coming around and to a certain extent, I'm surprised Dexter hasn't called the police, because it kind of would be a move that I would make. Dexter's free and clear. His name is free and clear. If anything, I would probably try to get a restraining order against Angel. You're not a cop. And then that would put Angel in the lines of being on the defense. Switch the scales a little bit, because this dude is doing too much. And maybe that could be the best way to get this guy off your back without having to kill him. Actually use the law that he's trying to use to get you. Use the same law to get him away from you. So I think that would be a great idea, personally. And that's the end of the episode. So tell me what you guys think is like. What do you guys think is gonna happen? Because I ended up seeing the promo for episode 7, and man, It seems like it's going to be a crazy episode next week. It seems like Dexter's got the kill room set up for Al, and because he had seen Al, dispatch the another person with the ponytail, and he found that act to just be completely disgusting. So yeah, he wants to kill Al, and I think he'll be successful. He's got the kill room set up. He's got his knives out. The thing is, I feel like maybe Angel's gonna follow him to the wig room or whatever, and he might see the kill room like beforehand, and they might wait for him to come and act do the act of killing or whatever, and he might try to catch him, and that's why he had like the gun in his hand ready to enact justice. I guess is his perspective. But I think at the same time, I saw Charlie tell Prater, "Hey man, let me do my job. Something's wrong here." So like I said, I feel like there's going to be an interaction between Angel and Charlie, and I feel like if anybody's gonna kill Angel, it's probably gonna be Charlie, because at the end of the day, she is as an assassin of some sorts, and she has to protect Prater, which includes Dexter, especially if Prater or if Prater's new favorite. And also, I don't believe Prater doesn't know who Dexter is, because the Bay Harper Butcher or whatever, like um Dexter was in the headlines or was on the news for killing himself, or disappearing. This forensic analyst disappeared, and like he was in the news a few times whenever a lot of those things were going off. Even I think even the first time he was arrested, and then he was in the news a few times, especially when I think another time was when the Trinity Killer had killed his wife, and it was like local forensic analyst lost wife to Trinity Killer. Like he was in the news a few times. So if Prater had really followed the story to like to the extent that he claims to, where he loves these killers, or he loves these people, then it would make full sense that he knew who Dexter was. It doesn't really make sense that he doesn't. So anyway, tell me what you guys think is gonna happen, because I am interested to hear everyone's like takes on it. Anyway, let me know. See you next time.